Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Piglet here once again and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Yoshi's Crafted World for the Nintendo Switch. So last time we have managed to able to explore all of the levels in Cardstock Carnival while going through Spin Wheel Shuffle, as well as Haunted Maker Mansion, as well as Hoop Jump Hop for that particular level. And also we did manage to able to find souvenirs in new forms of Spin Wheel Shuffle and stuff. And also we did manage to tackle for those two levels within finding Poochie Pups, basically. So today, for this particular episode, is the fact that we might able to actually just do 100% for everything in terms of Cardstock Carnival, and eventually we'll able to move on to the next new world. So either way though, excuse me, I got something in my throat there. Because yeah, as a result, if you can clearly tell on the title already that we are now on the 16th part right now. So yes, to be expected at this point, this is going to be much longer than the forms of how it does it on the forms of Yoshi's Woolly World right now. Because, obviously because of how the fact that they're trying to able to expand upon some world environments or something like that for that nature. So everything else is a lot huger than I expected while to see this will turn out. Especially how that Nintendo Switch is actually doing super well, which it's pretty much understandable when it comes to certain stuff or what have you. So as a result for that specific matter though, despite this game didn't sell nearly as high as Super Mario Odyssey and stuff, but either way though, let's just go ahead and get ourselves the first Poochie Pup right there, even though despite the fact that the game tells me it's the second Poochie Pup right there. In fact, let me just classify for something right about now. About the fact the matter is though, is the fact that there's going to be plenty of times where in certain special levels that... Wait a second, does that particular time does say we need to collect all these Poochie Pups within 2 minutes or something like that? And if that's true, then I'm as well able to double check it if there's any like stuff or what have you, and turns out, yeah, I'm pretty much gonna be wasting time on that specific level, so let's try this again. And yeah, it did say 2 minutes in order to actually get yourselves the 4th extra smiley flower. So yeah, as a result, let's try this one again, and hopefully we would be able to success for this point. So yeah, obviously today's day is the forms of the 17th of March today in 2020. So unfortunately, for the sake of time, there's not much else we can able to speak of, sadly. Well, apart from the fact that we'll let Sonic will mention more about it whenever he goes back onto Super Mario Sunshine tomorrow. So yeah, as a result of this kinds of stuff though, is the fact that after yesterday, where Sonic just managed to able to tackle through you know, the longest part of that specific video of Super Mario Sunshine, and that's of course going for 100 coin Shine Sprites in specifically Recco Harbor, and also same applies for Gelato Beach, all in one particular video as of now. So even then though, that hopefully by that time is the fact that Sonic will able to actually get back onto some more of those specific amount of time uploading schedules in Super Mario Sunshine in particular. So either way though, because he'll just take it too easy for the forms of likely trying to upload certain stuff or what have you. So, but I digress. Let's go ahead and get this last Poochie Pup right here, and we'll get the heck out of here by simply able to go onto the right. And as you can tell, that unlike the forms of how it does it on the front side of this this particular level, is the fact that, well, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any time limits to worry about, because unlike front side, where you have to deal with the time limit because you have to like get a certain amount of points when you go bypass for those hoops or even rings for that matter. So even then though, depending rather how much scores you have, then you would able to actually get yourselves a glorious smiley flowers. Well, specifically 3 of them to be exact. So but I digress. So even then, I'm pretty sure in the majority of the souvenir huntings, whenever we get right onto the forms of that specific stuff, but for now, let's head back onto this level once again, and this time around, we'll hopefully try to find the Poochie picture, and then we can move on to the next set of those souvenir huntings every once in a while. So yeah, that's how it goes, basically. I do apologize with that specific amount of dialogue for this point, probably because of how the fact that, well, for the sake of time, my throat is actually getting a little bit more coughed up or what have you. So I do apologize for that, but luckily though, no coronavirus I had with me, so even then, no, at least I'm safe from now on. So anyway, so if I recall correctly, it's the fact that the Poochie picture was actually on this specific spot, which if I can see it just about right here, so at least even then, we're at least able to actually see that right there. So now we can move on to the next souvenir hunting, and then when we're done with the rest of the souvenirs hunting in particular for the majority of this world, then, well, sure enough, we can able to actually just conclude this world. In addition with that, we also might actually consider just trying to able to get ourselves all of the costumes. Well, first off, we need to grab ourselves even more coins to our disposal, so that way we can able to spend you know, more coins until whenever we unlock certain costumes that we can... I don't know if I can able to potentially try to use those costumes, honestly, because, well, aside from able to actually having something a little bit different, able to wear something like this, but I just don't see the point of able to actually using those kinds of stuff like this, because as a result, this game is going to be likely still easy as a result, way more easier than the forms of how it does it on you know, the previous Yoshi games for sure. Although it can be pretty challenging at points, specifically when you get towards the very end of the game, especially noticeable on the special zones or the special levels as far as I'm aware. So yeah, as you can tell, that I'm guessing if I recall this correctly, is that the majority of the souvenir huntings on this specific level or for this particular stage, as you can see, it's only going to be on the flip side rather than just on the front side, because the flip side has no time limit because it just counts forward, whilst the forms of the front side, it just usually counts it backwards because of the forms of the 30-second time limit. So yeah, that's how it goes basically when it comes to likely certain aspects about this specific level is considering. So, but apart from those side of things though, I do still really enjoy this level, but it's just that sometimes if you really want to go for 100% completion within the first attempt though, sometimes you're gonna have to cope with that specific amount of trial and error sometimes if you really want to be fast enough, if you really want to find all these red coins as well as, well, specifically red coins in general, because apart from you can able to actually do this without taking any hits, which either way I found is pretty easy to deal with, but at the same time though is the fact that, well, if you're trying to get used to with specific level types like these, then, you know, you might get used to it, so yeah, I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this right from the start though is the fact that, well, you know where we did actually mention about the forms of certain Let's Plays or our original Let's Plays has been no longer into our YouTube channel? Well, that's far from the case at this point today, because either way, we've managed to able to no longer have ourselves our original Let's Plays of both Mario Party 7 as well as Mario Party 8, because I did you know, look upon the old videos on that point, specifically where I looked upon specific parts in our board of King Boo's Haunted Hideaway, and one of those parts actually contains one dislike, and as a result, the views count doesn't go nearly as high in our Let's Play of Mario Party 7, despite on Grand Canal board, which I think that particular views count in back in the day in part 1 and 4, if I recalled, does manage able to hold up, but unfortunately for the sake of time, especially we're now on to 2020, especially that we still got ourselves our glorious capture card even to this day, we might actually consider trying to do those particular redo Let's Plays at some point in the future. So either way, because as a result, talking of which actually is the fact that we were expecting to able to do with the Sonic Shuffle Let's Play at some form or another, but it has to be wait until for quite a while because of how the fact that we need to get those certain Let's Plays done, and then eventually at this point we still need to able to do those Let's Plays one at a time kind of system, because as a result, that's what we're going to be essentially doing for the majority of this year, in addition with 2021, so at least expecting that'll be making it happening in terms of likely certain events will do happen, so But I digress. So, yeah, as a result, some of these Mario Party Let's Plays are still around in our channel, such as, of course, Mario Party 9, as well as, you know, Mario Party Advance, Mario Party DS, Island Tour, as well as, Star Rush, the Top 100, and recently Super Mario Party. But we figured that at some point in the future, though, when God knows when Nintendo's decided able to announce the next new Mario Party. Well, I don't know if they're gonna do the next new Mario Party until during this year, because according to Super Mario Party's selling records, it's actually doing super well, even though I'm almost until likely for about 2 years or something like that when it gets to October. So even then though, still looks very impressed back then in 2018, especially like going back into a return to form, which I gotta say, I'm still very impressed by that, so... Yeah, I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this, well, apart from the fact that I've already mentioned about the fact that we no longer have our Let's Plays of Mario Party 7 as well as Mario Party 8, despite we need to able to redo those Let's Plays in the future. What we're gonna do is the fact that we'll try to able to take ourselves a little bit too easy when it comes to likely doing some schedules of the Mario Party series from now on. Like, for instance, we're gonna be starting from the beginning of Mario Party 1, and after that Mario Party 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and eventually 10, because those are the only Mario Party games left to able to actually just to do the actual Let's Plays of, because despite we need to able to improve upon the actual quality and everything, but also the commentary itself as well too. And also, what I've noticed is the fact that whenever I look back onto the forms of our old Let's Play of Mario Party 6, for example, for whatever reason, Mickey just somehow managed to able to realize that, well, despite the fact that he did say that the game usually shuts off all of a sudden, but it turns out that was a lie, because as a result, he accidentally just managed to reset the game, and as a result, the actual results is incredibly different due to the forms of that, well, the miracle spaces. So even then though, as a result, which are equivalent to chance time spaces by the way, for the past few Mario Party games I should say. So yeah, as a result for this kinds of stuff though, we figure we might as well able to do those redo Let's Plays in the future of the Mario Party series. But for now on though, we're mainly trying to focusing on certain Let's Plays, or in this case 3 more Mario Kart Let's Plays for the time being, until God knows if they try to make, I don't know, Mario Kart 9 in the future, or especially noticeable with the forms of likely just trying to stuck with constant updates of Mario Kart Tour. Speaking of Mario Kart Tour, actually, is the fact that recently we got ourselves a new tour that has been just recently came out of for about almost a week ago actually. That is of course Baby Rosalina Tour, which I would say it is a pretty lame tour in my opinion, just because of how the fact that despite we got ourselves the Baby Rosalina to begin with, but ultimately though, we got ourselves a detective version of herself during the forms of that specific high-end chance kind of character, which I still haven't got a chance to get around to her though, sadly, just because then again, it's all just about constant gamble and stuff. In fact, talking of which actually, is the fact that since after all, this is still uploaded in during forms of the 17th of March, by the way, I can't even believe by saying this, is the fact that we've only got about 8 more days left until the actual, the game itself, Mario Kart Tour, came around in about 6 months or so. And I figure I might as well able to talk more about it whenever we get back onto this game, like discussing about the fact that since that 6 months has been passed with the Mario Kart Tour's release, and then we'll give another share of opinions on that particular game, but not now though, just because we're just a little bit too early to discuss on that at this point, so... But yeah, that's how it goes basically. So anyways, let's hit back on to Spin Wheel Shuffle, and then just try to find ourselves a glorious, well, the actual wheelabout, or in this case, a roundabout Ferris wheel. Well, not so much Ferris wheel, because Ferris wheels is likely just, well, it's the actual spinning wheel and stuff. But to be more accurate, we need to find a roundabout, basically. So even though it's not that far from here, though, luckily, though. So at least expecting it makes things a little bit easier for ourselves, just trying to able to find those specific stuff. So But yeah, that's how it goes, basically. So even then, though, yeah, I suppose speaking of Mario Kart Tour, actually, is the fact that they actually constantly, announce some of these quite a few, updates and stuff like that. Like, for instance, we've now finally get a chance to able to get ourselves a full-on multiplayer at this point right now. In addition, with a full-on multiplayer that has been now finally been added, some of these cups are now actually unlocked from the start, rather than just trying to grind for more grand stars in order to actually just to play them, which it seems a little bit too weird at first, but probably because of how the fact that, well, differently from the previous updates right now, every time you finish the race or accomplish any of those challenges of Mario Kart Tour, how usually the game offers us to, it doesn't, it has no longer trying to able to say, got its Grand Star notifications this time around. The only time exception is, of course, some tickets, as well as rupees and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, as a result, everything else is a little bit more, slightly faster, but at the same time, I'm still not happy about the fact that my game still always crashes because of my downgraded phone. And as a result, the game really encourages you to able to utilize with the new models of mobile phones, because that way, in addition to having no game crashes or anything like that, but in addition with that, the frame rate starts to suffer on the actual, the old phone models, like we still have ourselves iPhone 6, the original one, and then it still managed to able to get ourselves suffers from, well, in addition to having longer amount of loading times, and also same applies to, suffers from the forms of a, chunky frame rate and stuff like that whenever you're trying to go through certain races, or even certain menu interfaces and stuff like that. In addition with that, though, is the fact that sometimes, then again, as I said before, my game always attempts to crash every time when not only just trying to start the race, but also trying to go for the middle of the race, or sometimes, annoyingly, it always happens every time whenever I finish certain amount of races in certain tour courses. Like, for instance, as you probably already know, during the forms of about a month ago, that Vancouver tour that I've seemed to can't get my full experience on that tour, just because of how the fact that every time whenever I jump into the actual stage, Vancouver facility, particular level, which I think is actually a pretty cool looking course, by the way, but most of the time, whenever I did manage to start the race, it works perfectly fine. Well, specifically on a downgraded phone, like we still have, but when you're trying to win a race with a downgraded phone, or even finish the race in general, it always crashes, and as a result, I cannot progress, and I was like, I haven't done a thing in this particular tour. So yeah, not a single thing in the previous tour that I've went to, so yeah, not that fun. But anyways, no! At least we got a key though, anyway. Seriously, these enemies are so asinine annoying, which I do apologize with how the fact that with that language, by the way, folks. I'm not exactly sure if that was the language or what I've said, but anyways, let's go ahead and keep things moving. Oh, please don't tell me I'm actually missing on something. Oh yeah, there's a ghost right there. Ah, shoot! You know what that means, folks? The first game over in this entire Let's Play. Luckily, we got a checkpoint right there, so at least even then though, well, generally speaking, the first step of the playthrough, so even then though, luckily we can still manage to able to, still save our progressioning so far. As far as I've noticed right from the start though, is the fact that rather than just able to actually have ourselves, oh jeez, I still need to grab a key for that. I still consider this to be, well, I would classify for saying this right for this point. This is easily one of my least favorite levels of this game. It's not the hardest level in the game, it's just kind of frustrating when you're trying to deal with those annoying, pesky ghosts around. Specifically, those ghosts in general. So, even then though, because you have to cope with them, unless if you're trying to able to be super stealthy for the most part though, if you really want to progress, but most of the time, especially noticeable when some harder souvenir huntings and stuff comes into play, sometimes you always have to cope with the forms of some trial and error annoyances here and there. Well, luckily though, since that certain levels does have checkpoints, this means you can able to actually respawn whenever you got into at this point. However, unlike in Yoshi's Woolly World, however though, that if you somehow activate the checkpoint, I'm pretty sure about the fact that, well, it kind of does the same thing for how it does in Woolly World, where basically that your heart counter will be reset to default as in 10, and at the same time about the fact that when you touch the checkpoint, then you would continue where you left off. And however though, the biggest difference is than the likes of Woolly Worlds compared to this, is that in Woolly Worlds that if you somehow die in one of the levels, specifically when you come across into those spike pits or something like that, usually you're just able to actually get an instant blackout screen, and then it'll instantly lead you back onto either the checkpoint or even the beginning of a level. And here, taking a notice from Super Mario Galaxy's Prankster Comet missions on the first game in the series, well, for the Super Mario Galaxy game, you have an option to either choose the retry option or return back to the map, which I don't feel like trying to do that just because of how the fact that, well, it'll be a waste of time if I manage to able to utilize with that specific option, so... But there we go, folks. We did manage to able to accomplish this level, of course, and as a result, we did manage to found every single of those cardboard ghosts here and there, so even then, does that pretty much takes care of the forms of everything in this world? Sure enough, it is. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a big fan of this mansion theme level. Thankfully though, it's only for one time. Well, not necessary just yet though, until later on. But for now, let's just go ahead and wrap things up completely with this world by simply able to actually spending on a lot of coins for obtaining those the next 10 of those costumes. So hopefully that'll be the case. So yeah, let's see what costumes do we get in this particular capsule machine. Or the actual capsule slot or anything like that. So, right, so we got a cast kit, and a circus probe, a bullet bill, and also we've got the mint car, and the circus tent. Pretty cool though. And also the raven. Those little chump burglar. These are the worst enemies in the game in my opinion. Circus stage. And also we got pink peach cap. And finally, the popcorn stand. To make it some sort of like an amusement park as well as a circus themed world. So to be expected, it's a nice little world I suppose. But then again, my least favorite level in the game was actually the haunted, the haunted Maker Mansion, just because sometimes these stupid annoying ghosts like to able to tick me off at one point. So anyways, let's move on to this next world on to the right, rather than just on the top, or up, I should say. Probably because of how the fact that at this point in time, we're mainly focusing on one particular dream gem at a time, so hopefully we would be able to actually just to go onto that stuff. So either way though, in this way we're able to actually access to this next world. So let's see what this next world is all about. And this world is named Chili Hot Isles, which consist of a beach theme level as well as a snow level. So let's head into it with the first level in this world, and that is Bombs Away on Pirate Island. So this seems pretty interesting enough as it goes by, but then again, we'll explain more about on this level until whenever we, well, dive right things in, basically. So anyways, let's get this thing started. And to be expected, I seem to able to jump cut for the sake of time because this is my second attempt of this level, probably because of how the fact that in my first attempt goes pretty dang well. However though, that cannot be same applies as in those, once again, those red coins in this particular game so far. Because I seriously swear to God that every time whenever I do miss one of them, sometimes I always attempt to able to replay the same levels over and over again in case if I'm missing something. It gets a little bit tedious when you go to the souvenir huntings and stuff, for example, as I say this before, but once you get used to it though, it still has a lot of replayability, which I'm sure most people seem to appreciate it with this, but you know, it just feels kind of a little bit time consuming most of the time. And also, as you can see, we have ourselves the returning of those the cannon shot ships ever since the very beginning of the game, except now we need to do those a lot for the majority of this level, just because of the fact that if there are certain collectibles hidden about, specifically the smiley flower, as you can see, where we do need to fire the cannonball into you, able to actually just to not only just to kill those shy guys, but also just trying to able to obtain certain items like the coins and the flower and all the other jazz. So it's a pretty cool level kind of thing about it, especially with how the fact that how gorgeous the water textures look, especially noticeable because this is on the HD console rather than just being more accurately on the 3DS and stuff like that, because I'm pretty sure the 3DS's life cycle has been, well, I would say for the sake of time, it's the fact that we've only got about similar day actually. It's the fact that with when it comes to likely 6 months anniversary of the Mario Kart Tour's release, that will be also around the same day as when specifically the European version of the Nintendo 3DS is released, likely for the 9-year anniversary of the UK version of that specific 3DS handheld. But I'm pretty sure enough though is the fact that the Nintendo 3DS has been out for about 9 years now, ever since in Japan in February the 26th. So only 1 more year left until the Nintendo 3DS will become 10 years old. So, or, in this case for this matter, a decade old. So, jeez, I can't even believe the time itself just went flying by. Yeah, these red coins right there always attempt to really bug me, because whenever I manage to spot it them, and most of the time that I just simply just let one of them go flying by, and as a result, it just falls right into the actual water itself. So yeah, it's not that fun. And especially noticeable how the fact that it's nothing compared to the forms of trying to able to find this godforsaken one red coin left by specifically finding those very, very well hidden gift boxes, or gift presents I should say, and then as a result sometimes I accidentally bypass them, as you can clearly see on screen right now. So yeah, according to my gameplay knowledge, that I seem to not be very expertise, unfortunately. So either way though, let's just go ahead and grab some more coins in case if we're about to be getting ourselves even more costumes along the way. So yeah, I think that's pretty obvious for our solution. So anyways, we'll see what's in those specific hidden clouds. We got ourselves even more red coins, in addition with more coins. And yeah, just like before on those previous construction kind of levels like so, once again we need to go ahead and get ourselves 3 of those crafted items until whenever we continue proceeding for this, for the sake of this level in general. So yeah, that's how it goes basically when it comes to this particular level itself, and there's not much else we can say about the forms of today's video, sadly, just because of how the fact that, well, then again, I'll let Sonic will mention more about this and during at some point until tomorrow, and especially noticeable, if he doesn't mention about even more information on his sleeves, then I'll mention more info whenever I get back onto this until on Thursday, and at the same point as well on Sunday. So relatively speaking, yeah, that's all I could really just try to discuss upon. So anyways, let's fit all these pieces in, and then that way we're able to get ourselves a nice little ship that we can able to access to, and then to top it all off, we can now able to access to those 2 different cannons, which one of them can able to actually shoot further, or the other one can able to shoot a little bit near to you. So even then though that, well, if you really want to go for a certain amount of collectibles, or even coins for that matter, be sure to able to use the cannons wisely until whenever, depending on what Shy Guy's ship they're about to be able to be located from. So there's another red coin right there, so even then only 2 more to go, and yeah, I think that's everything else we'll be accounted for basically for straight off the bat though. So, jeez, I just simply missed my cannon shot. But that's okay though, because we simply got another red coin from here, and then shoot another cannonball from here, make sure we... Oh jeez, that was close. And then I think this is the final part of the level, is the fact that you can like destroy the amount of those cannon shots within the actual pirate ship itself. So there we go. And straight off the bat, we got ourselves all these smiley flowers. Oh no! Please don't tell me I'm still off by. This is the 3rd time in a row. I've simply managed to miss 1 red coin left for a 3rd flipping time. Oh my god, there's gonna be one of those emphasis on this, sadly, for this point, folks. And then, whenever we get towards the end of the game, however, though, it will happen a lot of times. It will repeatedly, rapidly trying to able to get ridiculously annoying, trying to able to notice that I seem to be off by, once again, 1 red coin left. So, I guess that's not much else can really comment on that. So, yeah, I'll meet you guys back whenever we try to find this godforsaken red coin. So, yeah, I'll meet you guys for just a moment. So, yeah. Alright, you know that gift I was mentioning earlier? Well, it has to be right over there on top of that particular octopus's head. So, let's fire that in, and there we go. Ay, ay, ay. It always happens to me. It always happens to me. But anyways, we should probably end things off at this point right there, I'm afraid, guys. So join me next time on Let's Play Yoshi's Crafted World. It's the fact that we're going to be hit on to the next level in Chili Hot Isles. And yeah, that's what I can really say about it. So see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.